Hello. I hope the problems got fixed. I don't know what went wrong. I swear to God, I thought I was streaming yesterday. It showed me I was live, and then I don't know. If I go down again, you know what? It's the stupid new computer's problem. But I have my Twitch open also simultaneously, so hopefully I can monitor if I'm doing any goof ups. You have to be my yeah, that'd be my tech support. But anyway, let me pull up your previous version and then we'll compare it to this one. Alright, okay, so I went over your January one real briefly. I didn't do too much. I was just talking about general proportions and expression exaggerations. Mini mic spike. Okay. I really do need a tech support team, but I am my own tech support and I have failed myself. Absolutely. Okay, it'll be a quick stream. It'll be about like maybe an hour-ish. It won't be too long. But what I did go over yesterday for your January one. Let me see if I can also download your old January one so we can kind of do a side-by-side comp. Download. I'm sure you already noticed like some differences, but you just don't understand what the hell I'm talking about. January crit also. Okay. Okay, side by side, come on, side by side. Fuck me, oh my god. Okay, side by side. So first things I did was kind of expand your working space because I can't show you how to fix stuff if I don't have enough space to work with. But you're gonna see let's make this bigger. Am I tripping? Oh. Grabbed the wrong thing, sorry. Like I said, I am not a good tech support. Someone fire me. Let me know if the volume's too high. Okay, but main differences that we're seeing, I saw that you're using the reference sheet, the expression reference sheet. So I was trying to stick pretty close to how the emoji, the chibi was doing. But we basically kind of switched up the vibe in terms of making the eyes a little bit bigger. So you get that feeling of shock. We kind of tilted the mouth a little bit more in order to get that kind of, oh, whoopsies, kind of more cartoonish look, since a lot of like anime or semi-realism styles, like the great thing about it is that you're able to exaggerate the expressions. You don't have to keep to super realistic proportions. So why not utilize that? So I kind of pushed it up a little bit, tilted it up. We'll also raise the eyebrows to be a little slanted upwards a little bit just to get that ooh kind of look. And then the shoulder we definitely fixed a lot because I was talking yesterday, we cannot fold our shoulder over 90 degrees like this without the other shoulder also turning. Unless you somehow are Magic Greta, like you just have the most flexible shoulder, you're able to just do like this. I don't think it's comfortable to do like this. So I just basically moved his shoulder far down and then brought out the shoulder so we see a little bit more of his chest. And then I just kind of fixed up a little bit of some other expressions. So namely this one, I brought up the mouth a little bit more to get more of that pouty look. Oops, sorry. Brought up the expression mouth right here a little bit higher up just to get that more pouty look. And I fixed the proportion for the face over here. Like if you like the look of the maturity of this face, then that's fine. But if you're trying to go for a younger look, what you need to do is we need to make it a little bit more subtle with the nose bridge. So not this one, this one. So essentially what I did was I just kind of lowered the nose bridge a little bit to get a little bit more of that youthful look. When you have a high, really strong brow, it just creates a very masculine, very mature look. So lower it down just a little bit. I'm gonna keep the size of your nose. And we're just gonna shift some proportions down a little bit to get that more youthful look. And then the next thing that's happening here, we gotta fix. There's so many things going on, Greta. So I know you're trying to do the Adam's apple, but there's too much up here. The Adam's apple needs to sit a little bit lower. See how when you bring it down, Adam's apple versus you got a second ball in your throat. And then I'm gonna bring the head back a little bit. If you want that strong male vibe, then we need to make sure we bring more head, more neck. So something like this versus, you know, so bring down the nose bridge, you get a little bit more youthful look. I did also make some comments about like, oh, if you wanted to make it more true to the expression, like if he's like really dreading, he might not even have a lip line. Yeah. The man detaches his mouth. But I literally knew when I saw a character like this, I was like, deadass Greta would love this. Yes, exactly. Draw yourself your own man, because you cannot find an Animu man out in real life, unfortunately. I didn't change anything else in regards to all of the other stuff. Everything looked really nice, the proportions for this. I did just make some comments about like cleaning up your highlights a little bit, maybe grouping them up a little bit more rather than have them so splayed out like this. I'd put them closer together and then bring a bit of a hot spot, especially in that top bang area where you have that really high area. So that was for the January one. I didn't do too much with this. I went crazy with this one. So a lot of changes happened. Unfortunately, I did not record any of it. My dumbass really thought. You know how shook I was when I saw that Twitch was like 30-second preview, and I'm like, oh damn, I really didn't show through. Okay, so originally it was this one, right? So we had some couple of options that I went through yesterday. Was option one is you could keep the dark background, but if we're basing it off of, you know, this reference, we kind of want to make it a little bit lighter. So I started out by just increasing the value of this one and just lightening up. And we don't want it to be too similar to your trees. We don't want it too similar to this one. So I was proposing we do sort of this like tealish color, a very desaturated teal color. So I went somewhere there. I know, that's why I thought I recorded fine, but I did switch computers in like December, and since we skipped streaming in January, I guess I never got the chance to really test it out. But thankfully it's all been resolved. I'm not jinxing it today. Okay, no one jinx it. Everyone knock on wood for me. But yeah, so hopefully this computer does not do me dirty again, and we're gonna have great streams, okay? But yeah, basically we lightened this up, and then I had a little mini discussion with myself, and I, about how dark should we have the trees. So if you wanted to do the whole conversation where we were like, oh, let's do low contrast, because all last month and this month was dedicated to low contrast works. If we're gonna do that, then you would definitely want to lower the value of your trees. And so I lowered it to maybe about this one, and then just reduced the saturation, just so we're still able to see slight differences between them. And I went on a big spiel about making sure that we understand if we're going to establish that your light is going to be this purplish color, right? And all your darks are going to be a warm color. That means we should make it consistent for everything. So, for example, if there's a little bit of light peeking through from here, you're going to make sure that you bring some of that cool light back in here. And if we're still keeping with that low contrast, obviously you don't have to do crazy light, but we still have to make it so it's relatively visible to the audience from far away that this is, you know, gonna be a cooler color. And then I also kind of went ahead and also kind of went ahead and fixed up this to make it a little bit closer to that cooler color, since you do see a little bit of that bounce light just here and there. And we made it cooler and we made it lighter, because if you squint your eyes, this area is relatively lighter than this, what you're seeing here. So okay, I just went a little bit cooler just so we're able to see that this is a different face and everything, and I kind of increased how light this area is. You want to simplify your values so you're not stressing so much all at once. And then since there's some shadow down here, you might consider use a textured brush. Let's see. What's a good texture brush today? Maybe this one? And you'll just kind of add back some of that shadow area that you see over here. And what you might want to do is just make some that are pretty similar in value. And I did say that this was a big no-no. This needed to be a very clear, different value face. We can't just say, oops, because we're doing low contrast, we don't have definitive darks and light. We do. We still need to have this be the darker side, so you're very clear, like, oh, this is lighter. And then I kind of went over how to kind of simplify the statue. So right now, because you're seeing a lot of, hey, this hot spot right here is really bright, this right here is very bright. So instead of looking at that way, you want to, whenever you're painting any statues like this and you're trying to keep it relatively quick for you, choose just one value first and just kind of mark out the general silhouette of it. Don't worry about the hot spots just yet. And you're gonna visualize what is this kind of silhouette looking like. So if you squint your eyes, or if you really can't squint your eyes and it's just easier to mess around with your programs, you can do so. Come on. Copy. We're gonna blur. Oof, not that much. So I'm gonna blur just enough for us to only be able to see the big values, okay? So you'll see, okay, this is a big value that's going on. A big value that's going on. And if that's still very, very hard for you to understand, we can put into black and white, right? And then immediately, okay, this is all one value. We're not going to worry about the color just yet. So this whole section right here is that lighter color, and then this part right here is all this darker color. And then after you're done, we'll go ahead and just block in these big chunks of shadow. Damn, I'm choosing the wrong color. My bad. Then once you've got general shadings down, then you can come back in for those intermediate colors. So we've already promised ourselves, established for ourselves, the light's gonna be cool, so shadow's gonna be warm. So as we're moving towards that cool light or that warm shadow, we're gonna find our direction. So if our light shadow is somewhere right about here, and our cool light is somewhere right about here, you can choose to go this way. Give me a second, I got a call. Okay, you can either go this way towards the reds, right, and do desaturated reds to help you bridge the gap between, or you can choose to do a very ambitious move, which is to use your blues and greens. In doing so, you're going to get a lot of colors, so you're going to have to be very strategic about how you use them. So if you're going to choose to do some greens and blues, we don't want to go too crazy with the saturation. We don't want to go all the way here. We want to keep it relatively in the gray areas. And we'll use that as sort of like a bounce light in that case. Okay, so something like that, you would just keep working on those shadows. I think I didn't do too much for the shadow. I just kept it pretty simple, especially if this is like just a study of color. I wouldn't put too much focus in the details of the statue. But if you're trying to make it super duper crazy, like you're trying to go wild with everything, then for sure you could just keep going on with all the details. It's up to you, right? So let me hide this real quick. And then eventually I got to the point where I was messing around with that whole similar values kind of idea, right? So I first made this slider. I made this slider in order to match how bright it is, because if you have too many darks in this area, it can sink the whole piece down, right? Like you don't have enough focus. So that's why you would need to bring this a lot brighter. The cool lights over here, the tops of here would need to be more of that cool purple instead of that yellow, because again, we established our light is cool, right? And all of these items right here are relatively similar colors, so it's going to keep it to relatively similar treatment of that cool light. And then let me show you what I eventually did. So I added a little bit more foliage in the back. At first I used, this desaturated blue for the background, adding some foliage. It didn't have to be too crazy. Oops. And then eventually, because I was not liking the color, I was like, okay, well, we'll try the purple, make it a warmer purple to make the leaves match the trees, and then the sky will be more of that yellowish color. But because this is too similar, in colors, it's not gonna vibe really well, right? Even though I had all this contrast, all this stuff, different kind of desaturated colors, it's just not enough. So if you want to try to make it look like it's one single value, like that whole very dreamy, very soft look, consider adding a filter on top, and I was just using luminosity, so I tried to apply that purple filter, and this gives you that kind of very even look. So it gets rid of a lot of your really high contrast. Depending on how much contrast you have, you can lower this, you can increase it, right? This is going to basically get rid of all of your contrast. This is only going to apply that purple color to all your lighter areas. If you want to just do a happy medium, you could obviously, you know, go 50%. And then I was like, okay, well, everything still looks too similar. You can't tell heads from toe. You can't see this shit from this shit, right? So why don't we change up the background color? So we're gonna add, I duplicated that layer, this layer right here, and I also duplicated this layer right here. And we just kind of made everything a little bit more green. And the reason why green and purple really works well is just because all of these yellows that we have right here. If you didn't have this yellow, it's gonna look very weird to have suddenly some greens. But if you can imagine, almost like we're simplifying this whole green foliage into like a hazy green background, that's why it also kind of works really well. Yeah, so yeah, I discovered this one in the last midst of my frustrations. I was like, okay, well, green kind of looks really nice. So you can totally keep that green even without, you know, that luminosity layer where we kind of made all the values very similar. The green still helps make it pop out a lot more versus the original purple, right? So that's something you could consider. And then I kind of, because we made that background green, oops, you can't just have so much, where did I put it? I don't know where I put it. Okay, you can't just have this all green, right? So we want to bring back some of the purples from that bottom half of the piece. So we're spread it out just a little bit here and there using like some kind of textured brush. So I just went ahead and played around with my texture brushes. So some of them, you can play around, make some of them a little bit darker, make some of them a little bit more desaturated, just to add some of those purples back into the piece, not too much. You'll focus mostly the purples on the bottom. That way you kind of have that 30-70 rule that we've talked about for composition and like how do we overall lay out colors. And then I just kind of added a little bit of a highlight for some of them if you really want to accentuate like the brightness of the statues so that they pop out, since this part is pretty bright. If you don't want to, if you just want to make it like very similar values, that's fine, but I would be careful not to do too much similar values, especially when you have so many of these like colors very similar to the background. And then I just kind of messed around, added a little bit more purple here and there. I didn't do too much for here. I just mentioned a little bit more on like the cubes. So when you are drawing your little platforms, I want you to be careful about your perspective of your cubes, Greta. These right here are looking up. These are stacked up, so this corner, this corner, this corner, these are all line up. What you had right here, they don't line up right now. Oops. Right now, you just have too many things going on. You needed to figure out where the corner, where they're turning towards, and then you're gonna start building that box. And you're gonna make them smaller. And that's how you would draw boxes in perspective. If you're doing it like how you're doing it, it looks like you're doing two different perspectives for this cross area. This is giving me, we're looking at it from top down, when in reality we need to be looking at it from bottom up. Same goes for this part. We want to be careful about our angles. These need to be pointing up because we're looking at from a downward perspective. So I shouldn't see anything that goes like this, unless you're looking at stuff down here, right? Like you would look at stuff down here from top down. So you see the top edge. Our eye line, I would say, would be somewhere right about here. So anything above that, is going to get that upper cube kind of vibe. Even if it's not a pure true cube, even if it's like this weird kind of prism thingy, it's that upward angle. And I believe the vanishing point is like a million trillion degrees far away, because I cannot create this angle without being forever far away. Right, like, yeah. I know it's not perfect, but if you eyeball it, that vanishing point is super far away. Same for here, super, super, super far away. So make sure you fix those before you continue on with your rendering, otherwise it's going to look janky and doesn't look as neat and clean as you need it to look. If you'd like, you can also add just a little bit of some greens down here also. So some bounce light of greens here and there, just to make everything, you know, feel unified. Where is that one? You need to start labeling your stuff, Greta. You're killing me here. So if you wanted, you could just add some greens here and there. Oops. Oops. Where's my texture brush? Right, you could add some greens back here, very subtle, not too crazy, just to help you spread all the colors everywhere, and we're not keeping colors isolated. So even if it's like a tiny little speck, it can help make things feel like, oh, it's a cohesive piece. So that's the general idea of what I was working on yesterday. That a lot of stuff didn't get recorded, but you get the gist. You know the direction to go forward with our crit, and hopefully you'll have some edits for me next month. I don't know if I'm missing anything for the end of the month. I don't think I am. But anyway, have a wonderful last day of February. Maybe I'll do some more impromptu streams. I have to finish a commission that I'm working on. That's due soon. If I'm finished, I'll post it on the Patreon. But anyway, have a good night, everyone. It was great hanging out with you.